Roads Executive Cabinet Member for Highways meeting. Item first is monitoring of decision enclosed. Any question?
Nobody's indicating.
Then let's move to the item 2, which is Highways Capital Program. Sorry.
Okay.
Is
So
there
the
any
monitoring's
indication?
noted. There's nobody indicating no, so the monitoring's noted. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Item 2 is Highways Capital Program and out 2022-2023. Is it? Dwayne?
Yeah, thank you,
Who's
Chair.
taking this?
Yeah, Malcolm will take colleagues and yourself through the report. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just share the report if that's okay on the screen. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Try again. Yeah, technical problems this morning, apologise.
Malcolm.
Yeah.
Malcolm, you don't need to share the report on screen. Just provide an overview. Right. Everyone's received the paperwork. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Yes, the capital report basically gives the outturn for the previous financial years, and also it provides the information about the future programme. I think the main issues, items to note are DFT funding now comes for our core maintenance now comes via the GMCA as part of the single settlement. So that provides things on the under the CRSTS settlement, the City Regional Sustainable Transport Strategy, which is basically pays for things like the Streets for All schemes in Farnworth, and also junction improvements and other such like things, as well as the core maintenance. So the core maintenance is divided up in a similar manner to what happens with the Department for Transport when they used to provide it direct to Bolton. So it's done in a similar proportion. One thing to note this year is that we've had additional funding, what you'll call, I've heard of as incentive funding. Other districts have had to provide information to say why that funding is required and what they're going to spend it on, whereas the GMCA, it's automatically provided, though we still have to do the transparency report to show what we spend the money on for the public. So it comes through to us. So you'll have heard about people getting another extra 25% and things like that. That's already allocated to the Greater Manchester Authority, to the districts there, but so it's come through as the funding on that. And also this year, as part of the CRSTS reprioritisation from the phase 1 of the works, there's another £2.729 million being allocated to Bolton for highways maintenance to be spent by March 2027. Basically, the report gives the details of the forthcoming programme for highways. There's a list in the background of the major classified routes to be carried out. The council's also put forward £1 million for unclassified roads, and again a table at the back provides the information of where that will be spent. One thing to note, we're using quite a bit of the innovative technology we've been using recently, which is the Road Mender and the Master Screed, which is a more sort of durable patching techniques, which covers a lot of the minor highways which we've not been able to do properly or done. Or reinstatements on these are much more permanent reinstatements. They work well, and it's done with recycled material, so we're also meeting the carbon requirements as well on that. The bridges content, there's a few structures. They're looking at the Temple Road retaining wall, which has suffered rather problems with collapse. It's become unsound, so that's getting repaired as part of the scheme. Also doing major inspections of the network to ensure it's up to standard and we can get the programme from that. So there's a programme in there for that. Street lighting, the replacement of the existing 40-year-old steel and concrete columns is continuing again this year and throughout, as well as the implementation of a new control system, which will make it a bit more easy to dim the lights and alter them in individual bases and a network overall, rather than the existing system for that. The Environment Agency, they've had a spending review in as part of the government spending review, so that this year there was no additional funding advised, but they're currently looking at what the government has provided for them in June to see what the future years programmes are. So I think really that's a summary of what the main points are. So if there's any queries or questions, I'll attempt to answer them if that's okay.
Thank you, Malcolm. Any questions?
Councillor Hayes is indicating. Councillor Crum.
Councillor Hayes.
Yeah,
Please.
thank you very much. I'm delighted to hear we've got a bit more money and hope we can get some of that spent on residential roads. A question really about the Temple Road problem, which isn't the bit in Smithles, by the way, it's a bit in Hannawell past the bridge. We know that area before they built was absolutely totally infested with Japanese knotweed. Is there any indication that was a partial cause of the collapse?
I'm not, as far as I'm aware, Councillor Hayes. As you're quite right, there was I remember during the construction on the old lodge that used to be there, it was surrounded by it, wasn't it? But it's not been indicated as any reports I've seen. I will check with the structures manager to see that, but it just seems to be. We've checked the sewer as well to see if it was something to do with that, but it just seems to have just gone as over a matter of course rather than anything else. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
There's no one else indicating, Councillor Crum. No, you're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you. Report is noted and as approved, as recommended.
Okay.
Item 2.3 is supply of lease winter maintenance vehicle greetings with maintenance provision enclosed.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. John Gregory is going to walk us through this report.
John?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, so the current provision of leased winter maintenance vehicles, to be specific, we're talking about gritters. So the big yellow gritters that go out salting the roads over the winter period. We don't buy those vehicles in, we lease them in for some, very good technical reasons, mostly because they get hammering and they suffer corrosion because of the use of the salt. So we feel it's a much better option to lease those vehicles in rather than to buy them in, and we lease them in over the winter period only, so that they're available for gritting. The current contract expired 2 days ago on the 14th of July. So we are now in a position where we need to procure another contract for the provision of winter leased vehicles. The number of vehicles that we're looking at, just get the report up. We require 8 18-ton gritters and 1 7.5-ton gritter for some of the smaller, more narrow rural roads that we've got in the borough. We want to go out to procurement for the supply of those vehicles over a 4-year period with an option to extend for 12 months beyond that, to include all the ongoing repair and maintenance on those vehicles as well. That's pretty much the top and bottom of what we're looking at doing with this report. I've got Alistair here with me. Alistair is my fleet and transport manager. Alistair, is there anything else you want to add in relation to that report?
I think you covered everything off there, John, quite nicely.
Okay.
The only other item that we've got in the report, which is a benefit to us, is that we're sharing the 8th vehicle with Berry, and that's a 50-50 share. So that reduces the cost on that operation, and it's a backup vehicle. So it's just in case of a vehicle breaks down within that gritting service, or we need that extra resource put in place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Any questions on this?
There's nobody indicating, Councillor Crum.
Thank you. The report is noted and approved as recommended.
Okay.
Okay. Next, item 4 is petition for the adoption of section of Dean Road enclosed documents.
Thank you, Chair. Malcolm will present this one as well. Thank you, Malcolm.
Yeah, this is a petition from mainly residents and some of the users of the Dean Road, which is the access road to Smithills Hall. And it also accesses Aspen Court, Yew Tree Close and Rowan Court, which is the development which took place at Smithills Hall probably about 10 years ago now. The road's owned by the council, and it's unusual really because usually petitions come from people who actually own the road or are responsible for the road maintenance. In this case, it's from the residents who don't have the responsibility for the maintenance of the road. It's the responsibility currently lies with the council, and it's funded between the council, Smithills Open Farm, and Jones Homes, who are the developer for the properties on the old Smithills Coaching House estate. When we're going to look at adoption of a road, it's usually the owner. In fact, it's only the owner of the road who can actually apply for adoptions. But we've taken it on board that this would be a petition to the council to look at that on that manner. So what's the corporate property who manage it haven't actually applied for it. It's a request on behalf of the residents. But there's two aspects we look at. One is the public utility benefits. So it's got to be of use to the general public. And also the standard of the road has got to be to adoptable highway standards. Now, on the utility benefits, we're usually looking for an existing road to be requested to be adopted. Is that it's got to serve at least 40 properties and have use to general public as an overall thing. Now here, there's about 30 properties, but there's also the hall and the farm. So there's arguments that could say, well, there is a public benefit, but the main thing that goes against it is it's over 300 metres long, this section of road. So the disproportionate amount of length of road compared to what it actually serves would put a strain on the financial budgets of the council to maintain it. In addition, it's already maintained at the moment by the council on a third cost. The other 2/3 being funded by the other two parties involved. So if it was adopted, it would become completely maintainable by the council under their budgets on the highway, which are also strained at the moment as it is. So we do have troubles. It's an unclassified road. It wouldn't become classified. It's a residential road. It's in good condition. It's not got any major defects. There's a couple of localised ones, but nothing which our inspectors would pick up as an actionable defect. The other aspect is that if you go from that, so under that public utility test, it wouldn't be acceptable for adopting it. Under the adoption standards, we don't know what the condition of the road is underneath because we'd have to do trials and cores to see what the construction is. The layout isn't exactly what we'd adopt these days, but we've got to take respect that it is going to a listed hall. It's basically a driveway to a country house as such in most aspects. And the other aspect is that it is actually currently as a public right of way. It's only a restricted byway. So removing that status and making it adoptable would mean that it was access to everyone, which it's permitted at the moment. But also it would open it up to things like statute takers putting plant in it and things like that. It would lose control from the owner of what can actually happen on that road, including putting things like events on and restricting use of it that would all require traffic regulation orders. So basically the summary is that we don't believe it meets the public utility test and we wouldn't recommend it being adopted.
Councillor Cram, you're muted.
Councillor Hayes.
Yes, thank you. I've got to say I'm very disappointed by this report. The main point was to get a cost. Now, I know it's very difficult with the resources to get a detailed cost, but a ballpark figure, usually the engineers manage to produce quite easily. I mean, for example, is it roughly 50,000? Is it roughly 100,000? Is it roughly 250,000? That would give us some idea of the feasibility of raising funds. There's a lot of other issues. Sorry, go on.
The reason we haven't given a cost because it doesn't meet the public utility benefit, the first test. So there was little point going on to the second test.
Yeah, I'm coming on to that in a minute, Malcolm. Yes, I understand
Right.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the petition arose. You may remember last winter and the winter before, there were lots of problems with the lighting on that road, and it being very isolated. A lot of people were very scared parking their cars with no lights on that area. Now those lights are actually upgraded a couple of years ago, and I think they probably now meet the necessary standards. But nevertheless, there is concern overall. Um, the housing developments, as you say, are under 40, but in fact, there are a number of others included which aren't listed in the report. I mean, the Gatehouse, Harrycroft Farm, Hornbeam Close, the coaching house itself are all accessed by that road, and it's the only really reasonable road to get to any of them. So basically, it's under 40 properties, yes, but it's very close to that 40 limit. It's certainly closer than indicated in the report. Talking about the utility, the road is the only access to the Smithills Open Farm. And as well as a multitude of tractors, milk delivery vehicles and other traffic going to the farm itself claims to attract over 170,000 visitors a year. Now, anybody going up there at almost any time during the summer, you'll see convoys of lorries, coaches, cars going in there, huge amount of traffic going there, a huge amount of traffic going to the farm. Say 170,000 is what they claim in their own planning recent submissions for another site recently. We've also got the Mills Hall, which, as well as a very popular cafe, which attracts a lot of visitors, is quite rightly trying to increase the number of events it holds. And recently, I mean, there's going to be a beer and gin festival. There was the dog show. There was the garden party. There have been performances of Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet in the grounds. And all these people, most of these people come by car. So there's a massive amount of traffic. So I would argue very much there is a utility there. It does need to be made up and maintained. The other thing that confuses me is the status of the road. Only people who live there or have got permission are allowed to use it by a motorized vehicle. Now, if I go up and take my dog for a walk up there, and sometimes I've been lazy, I go by car, am I actually not allowed to take my car on that road to do that? Are the people visiting the cafe not allowed? Are the 170,000 visitors to the open farm not allowed? If anybody has an accident because of the condition of that road, are they going to be told that they shouldn't be there so the council accepts no responsibility? That to me is confusing. I think I understand the stretched budgets, and I've got a lot of sympathy because I think highways do a brilliant job, and I've said so many times in this meeting, in actually using the resources they've got. But this is a case where I think there's a very clear utility argument, and I would ask you, executive member, to have a think about this again, particularly the public utility argument, and consider it for adoption. Now, where would we get the money from? Well, we're not expecting the council to pay for it all. I think the open farm, if we do want to adopt, should be asked to contribute. I think the Jones homes, and I've got no idea, I can only speculate why when that development went ahead, they were treated very, very leniently as regards Section 106 money and the payment for release of covenants that they got at that time. It was ridiculous how little they did pay. Obviously, if the council took over maintenance, it would release some money from the property services budget, who do pay towards it now. And I would also say, depending on the amount, I'm sure the local councillors would, from their fund, try and contribute something. So I would ask for, obviously, we can't say we adopt it without knowing more about the approximate cost. That would be silly. But I would ask you, executive member, to actually look at this again and consider it seriously for because of its public utility argument.
Councillor Crum, you're on mute. There's Les Webb and then Dwayne Lowe. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair. Would you mind if I just come back on Councillor Hayes'
Yes.
point before we go to Councillor
Yes.
Webb?
Yes,
it was just to try to explain that the way that we've looked at this, councillor, is around. So I don't want to get confused with adoption over maintenance. So the maintenance, the challenges that you were discussing there around maintenance and around payment of that maintenance is a three-way split at the moment. So the council only has a third, and responsibilities are with the farm and are with the housing developer at the moment. If that road and highway was adopted, responsibility for maintenance would wholly be with the council, and it would be classed as an unclassified road. So, and as you're fully aware, within our asset management strategy, it wouldn't receive any maintenance at all. So at the moment, that road is in, as Malcolm's and the inspectors have pointed out in the report, it's in a good condition. It's in a better condition and is better maintained than it would be if it was adopted, because we have got that three-way split over payment of maintenance. If it was adopted, we'll be removing that. It would fall into the unclassified category, and all it would just be subject to would be reactive maintenance in the future. So the road condition and the future road condition is in a better state and will continue to be in a better state if it's maintained and if it's continued to be unadopted and left within that three-way split of maintenance. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Councillor Webb.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You moved on a little quick for me. I'd like to go back to item 3, unfortunately. As somebody, as you know, who operates best part of 100 LGVs and has done for best part of 30 years, I would like to put on record that I believe that this deal for 8 vehicles, that those specialist specifications, offers very good value, particularly with the full R&M excluding tyres and accidental damage coming in at that kind of figure. I believe it to be very much in line with industry norm. If not, I think it's actually quite reasonable. I would be expecting to pay more than that if I was going at it from a private perspective. So I think procurement and the department should be congratulated on doing so well for the taxpayer on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you,
Councillor Webb. Thank you, Councillor Webb.
There's nobody else indicating on this, Councillor Curran.
Yes, Councillor Hayes, I have noted your point, and I think Dwayne has perfectly explained the difference, what it will be to the cost, as it's not about at the moment it's maintained by 3 ways, and if we adopt, only council have to pay this cost. So at the moment, I don't.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Curran. Councillor Hayes is indicating again, just so you know.
Councillor Hayes.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I understand the point that Dwayne's made. If we're actually getting any money out of the open farm, we're doing very well, because the council's had difficulty in that respect previously. I still have concern over the status of the road. If, for example, somebody, there are, let me explain it. There are 2 sleeping policemen on that road, with no markings to warn people at all, and not to cars that aren't familiar. They go over them and do quite a bit of damage themselves, actually. Now, if somebody has an accident of that sort, who is actually going to be liable? Because it's a restricted byway, are they going to be told they shouldn't be there? Therefore, the council takes no responsibility.
Malcolm, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'll comment on that. The restricted bike, that is the right, that is the public right of people to go down there. That can't be stopped. So anyone can drive down that road in a horse and cart or a non-mechanical means. That is a right. Now, that doesn't mean those who drive in cars can't do, because the owner of the road allows them to do so and doesn't stop them. He can stop them. The council could stop them, but I would think there's people got access rights and things like that to the properties. So that's a civil matter between the council and those people. So the right of the general public is just that they can use a non-mechanical means. That's what it means there. So for those who are invited or have got permission to go down the road, it's like a farm track or anything like that. people, the postman can go down a farm track, anyone can do that. Now, the sleeping policeman, because it's not an adopted highway, they can be to a standard, whatever people like to put in. They don't have to be signed, anything like that. It's a private road. So if there was damage to it, a vehicle, then they would have to prove that it was negligent on behalf of the council for having a sleeping policeman, and they don't have to be signed. It's not to the highway standards. It's a different rules. So yes, you can drive down there because the council allows you to do so, but there's no actual right. So that's what it is. It's like on the highway where it's open to all traffic, everyone can use a right. It's like a public right of way, a footpath or something like that. You've only got a right to pass down it on foot, but certain tracks down the farm, or for example the Middlebrook Trail, there's sections there which are restricted by way, but there's people have access rights and are permitted to go down it. So that's what it means by that. It's just the status of the highway. It doesn't have full highway status to allow vehicles down there. It would be upgraded if it did do, and that would mean that anyone could go down there. Whereas at the moment, if the owners can say, I don't want anyone else to come down there, except for those with access rights, the general public wouldn't have the right to do it. It's that status of it.
Still a bit confused. Thank you, Malcolm. Doing it at your own risk.
There's nobody else indicating now, Councillor Cram. You're on mute.
I took the points, Councillor Hayes, what you made, but at the moment I'm satisfied with the report, and I am minded to note the report and approve as recommended.
Okay, so is that a report agreed, Councillor Cram? Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Okay. Final item.
Okay, the final item is creation of a new apprenticeship role, transport services. Is it?
Thank you, Councillor. John Gregory will talk us through this report.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, so the transport service is undergoing some considerable change at the moment under the hands of the very capable hands, I should say, of Alistair Burns, who's here with us today. One of the issues that we have is recruitment of technicians, in particular heavy goods vehicle technicians, but across the board we are competing with the private sector. It's very difficult to recruit full-time staff into that area. One of the areas that we feel we are lacking within transport is apprenticeships. We feel that apprenticeships are a really good way to get young people engaged in the trade and hopefully to create long-term staff within the service. So this report is requesting permission to create 2 apprenticeship roles. One is for an HGV technician apprenticeship, and one is for what we're calling a small plant technician apprenticeship. That's grass cutting equipment, tractors, strimmers, all the small plant used by operation services across the council. We were going to include this as part of a business improvement review. Unfortunately, that the timing of that wasn't good. The business improvement review that we're looking to bring in probably won't be in towards the end of the year. Whereas with apprenticeships, we want to time it, in relation to, as you know, schools are breaking up this year. We want to time it so that we're able to attract applications from school leavers to start those apprenticeships in September. One of the apprenticeships, the HGV apprenticeship, is funded by Found. Found are the supplier of our refuse collection vehicles. So many of you may remember that last year we purchased 19 new refuse collection vehicles. As part of the social value on that contract, Found, the supplier of those vehicles, agreed to fund an apprenticeship post. So one of those posts is funded by Found. The other one would be funded by us from our budget. We're carrying a number of vacancies at the moment, so the impact on in the budget is negligible, really, if at all. And those apprenticeships should create take young people from school age through to being fully skilled and having some skills that will last them for life. And it's something that I'm really keen on doing. I came up through an apprenticeship route, so did Alistair, so did a lot of us. And we feel like that definitely within fleet and transport, we should be creating some apprenticeship roles. Alistair, is there any more detail that you want to add on to that summary?
Get the mouse over the microphone. Hello, Council and everybody. There's nothing else that I think you covered everything quite well there. The plant apprenticeship is a 2-year apprenticeship, and the HGV one will be a 3-year apprenticeship, and that's to meet the standards set through the examining bodies. Thank you.
Councillor Webb's indicating.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Webb, please.
You're on mute.
Apologies. Yeah, I'm
Councillor
going
Webb.
to reiterate everything that you just said there, gentlemen. You know, there's a demographic problem within the industry that, you know, lads that have been in it all their lives, like Alistair, John, and myself, we're at the end of the line, and it's not been an attractive industry to bring young people into for a long period of time. You know, caps on wages. People don't want to get filthy dirty every single day anymore and be lying under trucks in the rain, etc. It's not been a pathway that a number of people have wanted to go down, and there are massive skill shortages within the industry across both the public and private sector. Apprenticeship is something in the public sector that I've used previously, and yeah, I fully agree that it's a route that you should be going down. I would also say that there are also, you know, we've also done it with HGV drivers as well, with things like the Warehouse to Wheels initiative that came out a few years ago, where you could get well, I wouldn't use the word unskilled, but that's probably a little bit unkind. You could get people without LGV licenses through to Class 1 in 6 weeks, and you know, that might be something you look at in the future to get rid of the agency payments that you're using within refuse collection and other such areas. But I agree that we should be creating apprenticeship roles for sure.
Thank you, Councillor Webb, for your contribution. Any other indication?
There's no other indicators. No.
If there's no other indication, then I note the report and approved as recommended.
Okay. That's everything.
That, I think, concludes our meeting. That's the last item. That's everything. Thank you, everyone, for attending the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'll stop the recording.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks,
Thanks.
Councillor.